The real danger isn't in what she does, it's in what she says. Most men are trained to watch for big betrayals, cheating, lying, public humiliation. But they overlook the small things, the words, a subtle insult, a sarcastic jab, a dismissive tone. These aren't just sounds in the air, they're signals, and if you're paying attention, they tell you everything you need to know about who she is and how she sees you. Relationships rarely collapse in one catastrophic moment. They corrode slowly, word by word. If you ignore these small red flags thinking they're harmless or that you're overreacting, you set yourself up for destruction. A woman who doesn't respect you won't always scream it. She'll say it with a smile through little phrases that chip away at your confidence. A wise man listens carefully, not just to what she says, but to what those words reveal. Because if you miss the warning signs, you don't fall in love. You fall into a trap. Most men hear her words, but they don't listen. There's a difference between hearing and listening. Most men hear the words a woman says, but they don't absorb their meaning. They brush off the sarcasm, excuse the disrespect, convince themselves she's just having a bad day. But every time you do that, you're not being compassionate. You're being blind. A woman will tell you exactly who she is if you listen closely. Not just once, but over time. Patterns matter more than moments. One joke at your expense might be nothing. 2 could be coincidence. But 3? That's a message. And if you keep ignoring that message because she's beautiful, or because you're afraid to be alone, you're not in love. You're in denial. A man who values himself doesn't rationalize away red flags. He sees them, acknowledges them, and acts accordingly. Because attraction can cloud your vision, but a man of discipline never lets it steal his clarity. The moment you start appeasing, you start disappearing. Many men fall into the trap of thinking that if they just love hard enough, sacrifice deeply enough, or become easy enough to deal with, they'll earn loyalty. But that's not love. It's self-erasure. You give and she takes. You bend and she expects more. Before long, you're not a man anymore. You're a shell of one. Appeasement might bring temporary peace, but it breeds long-term resentment, not just hers, yours. Because deep down, you know you've traded your strength for silence. And here's the truth no one tells you. A woman cannot love a man she does not respect, and no one respects a man who abandons himself to keep someone else happy. Her words, the ones that belittle or pressure you, are not challenges to prove your devotion. They're tests. And if you fail to stand your ground, you fail the test. Love does not require you to kneel. It requires you to stand tall. Respect is never asked for, it's enforced. A man should never find himself pleading for respect. The moment you try to convince someone of your worth, you've already surrendered it. Respect isn't granted through negotiation. It's commanded through presence, through action, through how you carry yourself, and how quickly you walk away when it's absent. When a woman disrespects you with her words, whether it's sarcasm, condescension, or subtle digs, and you tolerate it, you're teaching her something dangerous. You're showing her that she can wound you, and you'll still stay, that you'll trade your dignity for her attention. But respect, once lost, is hard to regain. A man of integrity doesn't argue about whether he deserves it. He moves in silence and he leaves without drama, not to prove a point, but because staying in a place where you're not honored is a betrayal of yourself. If her words cross the line, don't explain. Enforce your standard, and walk. True strength is quiet, and women feel it instantly. Strength isn't about how loud you speak or how hard you hit. It's about how unshakable you are when the storm comes. A man who truly knows himself doesn't need to dominate. His presence speaks louder than his words. Women are drawn to this kind of strength, not brute force but moral clarity, emotional stability. A man who doesn't waver just to keep her comfortable. When she tests your boundaries with subtle disrespect or manipulative phrases, she's not looking for control. She's looking for your center. And if you collapse under pressure, if you start changing your tone, your plans, your principles to please her, she may smile. But something inside her disconnects. A woman cannot follow a man who follows her moods. And here's the paradox. The more grounded you are in who you are, the more magnetic you become. Because in a world full of noise, quiet strength is irresistible. Repeated disrespect is not a mistake. It's a test. Disrespect rarely begins with an explosion. It starts in whispers, a sarcastic comment here, a dismissive tone there. And at first, you let it slide. You tell yourself it's not a big deal. But here's the truth. When a woman disrespects you more than once, she's not just reacting. She's watching. Watching to see what you'll do. Will you correct her? Will you set a boundary? Or will you flinch and stay silent? Every time you allow it, you fail the test. You teach her that your standards are flexible, that you're willing to trade your worth for her company. And once that lesson sinks in, the tone of the relationship changes permanently. You're no longer a man she looks up to. You're a man she knows she can slowly break down. The words she uses may sound small, but they echo loudly in the heart of any man who truly listens. Don't miss what she's really saying. A man does not beg for respect. He walks when it's absent. The moment you find yourself explaining why you deserve respect, you've already lost the frame. Respect is not something you argue for like a lawyer pleading a case. It's something you embody. And when a woman crosses the line, when she mocks you, belittles you, or uses your words against you, you don't lecture her. You don't debate her. You don't raise your voice. You act. A calm, deliberate action speaks louder than any emotional plea ever could. Most men try to fix things by talking, hoping she'll suddenly realize how much she's hurting them. But a woman already knows what she's doing. She's watching how far she can go. And when you stay, despite the cuts to your dignity, you teach her that pain has no price, that she can chip away at your soul, and you'll thank her for the attention. Don't argue. Don't flinch. Just leave. And let your silence do the talking. The phrase, "if you loved me, you would," is the most polished form of control. It sounds innocent, even romantic. But this phrase, "if you loved me, you would," is not a request. It's emotional blackmail dressed as intimacy. It's a test you were never meant to pass. Because the moment you give in, the standard moves. Today it's canceling plans with your friends. Tomorrow it's changing your values. And one day, you wake up wondering where your spine went. Love should never come with a price tag attached to your dignity. Any woman who uses affection as leverage is not loving you. She's managing you. And a man who submits to that kind of pressure slowly stops being a man at all. He becomes an object to be shaped, softened, and eventually discarded. If a woman respects you, she'll speak with honesty, not coercion. But if she uses love as a weapon, believe what she's telling you. It's not love at all. It's control. And control always kills attraction. The phrase, "I just want to have fun," is a smile that hides a storm. At first glance, it sounds harmless. Who doesn't want to enjoy life? But when a woman tells you, "I just want to have fun," pay close attention to what she's not saying. She's not talking about building something meaningful. She's not talking about commitment, responsibility, or growth. She's talking about escape, from depth, from accountability, from anything real. And if you're a man with purpose, a man building something lasting, that should send alarm bells ringing. Because when life gets hard, and it will, fun disappears. And so will she. You need someone who will stand beside you in the storm, not just dance with you in the sunshine. A woman who only wants fun does not see you as a man. She sees you as a distraction. And when the highs fade, she'll leave in search of the next thrill. Don't ignore this phrase. It isn't lighthearted. It's a warning. When she shows you who she is, believe her the first time. A woman will always reveal herself through her words, not always directly, but in how she speaks to you, how she speaks about you, and how she responds when you assert your boundaries. The biggest mistake men make is thinking they can change her, that with enough patience, love, or sacrifice, the disrespect will fade. But it doesn't fade, it deepens. And the longer you stay, the more you lose. If a woman mocks you, undermines you, or tries to guilt you into submission, believe what she's telling you. She's showing you her character, her values, her limits. Don't rationalize it. Don't minimize it. Don't wait for it to get worse, because it will. A man who respects himself doesn't argue with reality. He recognizes the moment someone disrespects him. And he walks. Not out of anger, but out of clarity. Because once you've seen the truth, staying is no longer strength. It's self-betrayal.